Call to order the Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 Garrison Board of Education regular business meeting. Dusty, would you call the roll, please?
Here.
Madeline Julian. Courtney McCarthy.
Here.
Kent Schott.
Here.
Matthew Spicer.
Here.
Sarah Tormey.
Here. All right, Pledge of Allegiance now. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next up, I have agenda changes and approval. Does anyone have any changes to this evening's agenda, board members? Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Nays? Abstentions? Okay. Move on to board communications. First up this evening, we have a capital project update from TetraTech and Calgi Construction. Dominic, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Quick update on the project. Right now, project status, the renovation areas that you know, 1, 2, and 3 have all been substantially completed. And the work over the spring break, the abatement of the VAT flooring was completed. The art and collaboration room is about 100% complete. It should be turned over Monday to the district so you can, do your transition. I think right now the arts and collaboration will be working out of the library, so they'll be able to move back in. The middle school HVAC system, that's 100%. All the equipment has been installed and wired. The only thing pending right now is for the manufacturer Train to come back and do his startups. Okay. Sorry about that. We have tonight for board approval a total of about $93,800 in change orders. 6 are from the general contractor, 1 from the mechanical contractor, 3 from the electrical contractor, and 2 from the plumbing contractor. We can get into that more after, if you like, to go over the particular numbers. To date, we have $486,253 in change orders. 44% of that was due to field conditions. 29% of that was due to architect design, and 27% were owner requested. Right now, just as far as contract payments, to date, the original contract of all the primes totaled $6,090,000. We have, as I said, $486,000 in change orders. Total contract and extras to date is $6,577,000. The district has paid $3.8 million to the contractors, and we have $2.7 million remaining. Monetarily, we're about 58% complete, but in actual construction work, we're about 75 to 80. So we're well ahead and completed versus what we've paid out. So that's always a good position. As far as project spending, as I said, we had the prime contractor budget of $6,090,000. We have the teledata security from Edutech was $225,000. The HVAC equipment, which the district purchased directly from Train, was $857,000. And other project soft costs, which are fees and legal and bidding, advertisement, that type of thing, and insurances, came to $1.87 million. So we had originally a total budget of $9,046,000. We have spent $5.9 million, and pending is $3,700,000 and roughly $12,000. Putting that against the original budget and bond referendum of $9.9 million, when I add up total costs, which is the budget and the pending, we're at $9,677,000. The original bond was $9.9 million. So we still have about $234,000 left in contingency. Within the pending numbers we've taken into account, you have existing water heaters that are in relatively good condition. They're oil-fired, but your new HVAC system is based on electric. So we've allowed for an additional $200,000 in the pending should the district wish to change the water heaters to electric. And that's carried forward in the contingency balance. If we do not change that, then we have an additional $200,000, so our contingency would be $434,000. Looking ahead at the project schedule, for the 2021-2022 school year, renovation area 3, which was the classroom 11, 13, and nurse, that was completed January, March. The middle school HVAC was completed March through April. The renovation area 4, which is the art room and collaboration, that was completed April through May. Looking ahead for the summer 2022, we'll be working the middle school classrooms, renovation to the library, kindergarten, music, and cafeteria, main office entrance, administrative area, administrative area HVAC and toilets, and general improvements throughout the remaining areas. Just so you know, Meyer, the general contractor, to try to get a jump on the summer work, has requested to work in the cafeteria during a normal day shift from this point forward till the end of the school year. And he'll be doing his normal second shift on the other work during this time. But from what I understand, the cafeteria is below the administrative area. There's isolated entrances and exits, and the noise level would be sheetrock, screw guns, that type of thing, and being under the administrative area should not affect any of the students. So from what I understand, that is being considered, and I believe it may have been accepted. But that pretty much rounds up the executive report right now.
Thank you very much, Dominic. I do want to just address with the board, if anyone has any questions regarding that proposal to move to day shift work in the cafeteria exclusively, and confirm that all the entrances and exits would be from that separate entrance.
Correct.
It would never interfere with the running of the building, interact with children, any of that.
Correct.
Do I have any questions from board members regarding that specific switch or concerns? Okay. Do I have any other questions from board members for Dominic regarding the update? Go ahead, Madeline.
I do have a question about the contingency. It's $234,000. I think some of the costs moved over to the soft costs. Before, we had a contingency of approximately $700,000. So it would be good to see where those transfers or where that delta is.
I didn't hear the whole question.
Contingency,
Yeah.
the transfers from contingency, where did they go? Because it used to be closer to 700 versus
Right.
what it is now.
Well, we
Part
had
of it is the water heaters and there's
the water heaters, but the large part of that $700,000 went to your change orders for the field conditions, the owner requested items, and the design changes that came up along the way. That ate up $486,000 of the original $720,000. So that, coupled with the additional pending $200,000 for the water heater, would give you a bottom line right now of $234,000 remaining in the contingency. As I said, if we don't replace the water heaters, that'll be the choice of the board, because There really is no need to, unless you want to bring everything under the electric power. That would give you another $200,000 in contingency, bring you up to $434,000.
When does that decision need to be made by?
Before the end of the project, you have some time to think about that, yeah.
But let me just say, related to this, Tuesday, the 24th, the Facilities Committee is convening for this purpose. We're going to review contingency. Calgi will be with us. They'll take us through all of the change orders, and we will then discuss what to do with contingency. Do we want to move forward with electric water heaters? Are we okay keeping the oil heaters? As Dominic said, they are in decent shape. And then there's an additional, 200,000+. We do know that there are roofing needs, there are some masonry needs. Right. So that's the purpose of the meeting on the 24th, and then our Facilities Committee will circle back to the board with a recommendation, and we can discuss it more publicly then.
Any further questions regarding the update? Thank you, Dominic. We really appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up on our agenda, we have a discussion of the pre-kindergarten program. Prior to, at our last meeting, we discussed this program. Just for a summary, we now have in the state budget up to 18, well, I think it was a little bit higher, but we can take 18 students, and we would receive, I believe, $5,400 per student in aid from the state. That is use it or lose it aid. If we don't have the children in, we don't have the program, we don't get the money. So we are looking at whether it makes sense to establish this program now. So I'm going to open it up for discussion. If anyone has any thoughts, questions, if this is something we want to come to a consensus on tonight, it is on the agenda to approve later. Given the results yesterday, we can table it.
Are there any updates as far as interest or information as far as potential size of the class that we might be able to learn?
Sure. Just to clarify, we do have aid that would enable us to accept 20 students and receive $5,400 per student. The challenge there is over 18, so either 19 or 20 students, you have to have 2 paraprofessionals, and that will increase our cost. So the recommendation, if you recall, last meeting was to cap it at 18. Also the size of the classroom that we have in mind, as well as at that age, we do think 18 is a better number. Now the good news is only 15 families are eligible or have children who are eligible. Well over 30 responded to the survey. Many of those families have younger children, so they would be interested in sending their child in future years, but for next year, we are still at the number 15, which is a very manageable number, I think a good class size to begin the program.
I will also add here that given the results of the budget vote yesterday, this will enable us to keep a staff member, likely. It funds a staff member and an aide. So,
Like yesterday's vote doesn't make this harder?
We can't hear very well. I'm sorry, because this AC is very loud. If you guys can speak right into the mic, please.
okay, so your question, wow, I'm going to be really loud. So your question, Matt, to repeat was,
Is
it's
there
not the
anything about
inverse?
the results of yesterday's vote that changes the calculus on this program in terms of staffing or our ability to support the program?
We do have a lot of decisions to make regarding how we move forward from yesterday's results. So we can look to table this decision until after we have made those decisions. Those decisions will include, do we want to go out on the, for a second vote on June 21st, which is the date across the state that is set for a second vote? And if so, at what level? Or do we wish to go directly to contingency? So that is one decision we will be needing to make in the coming weeks as a board. And that will affect staffing levels. This is the only program that we have that's going to bring in money next year. It brings in money that we wouldn't have otherwise. So even if we do go out for a lower amount or go to contingency, this still brings in money and keeps a job. That's my understanding and take, but is that not making sense?
So I think that because the board, we haven't had a discussion yet about how we want to move forward, given yesterday's results, that why don't we table it? I mean, because I think you suggested that it saves the staff line, which I think many of us care about, but we haven't had a chance to discuss it yet fully. And
Can I suggest, though, that we don't have time to table this? Like, if we're going to do this, we need to tell people. Like, we can't wait 2 weeks or another week to say, like, yeah, we are going to do this or not. People are waiting to hear if there's a pre-K program. I don't want to rush it either, but like...
But do you really think, like, the 1 week is different than last week, 2 weeks ago when we told them to wait? Like, I just don't know, given this kind of crisis and unfortunate outcome.
So one of the things we will be doing is adding a public meeting next Wednesday. We had currently scheduled an executive session that will also happen next Wednesday, but we will have a public meeting next Wednesday as well. So it would be tabling it just 1 week, not until June 4th, but we do need to move quickly, and I do think parents need to know.
I want to move quickly on, and my pre-vote concerns were assuaged, and I support the program more enthusiastically than I did a couple weeks ago. But now I have new concerns that didn't exist a couple weeks ago that I just want to clarify. So if it's possible to table it just a week, I just want to make sure that some of the collateral damage from yesterday doesn't get in the way of this. Although I appreciate what you're saying about this bringing in money and being a wonderful program for the community. So I want to support it, but I just want to make sure that, like, I'm not missing something that would end up making this hurt us in ways that I don't know if I'm being clear.
I just think that we should say, like, next week we are making the decision, and that's it. There's no more waiting, no more discussing.
I don't want to wait. I just am. I mean, if you all think that I'm wrong to think there's something about yesterday that could make this harder to implement, then I'm happy to not table it. So I guess there's a question mark at the end of this, but I'm just asking, are there potential ramifications from yesterday that will make this more difficult to implement than we initially anticipated when we first discussed it?
Okay.
Is that a clear question?
That does make sense.
Yeah.
And I think then we would wait. But the consensus then that I'm hearing is we wait until next Wednesday for our newly scheduled special meeting. And at that time, we are telling our community that we will have an answer on this program going forward. Is that what I've got?
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, and Sarah, I will be sure to send out communication to all of those 15 parents, letting them know they will have a firm answer next week.
Firm answer. Thank you. All right, next up, I have ratify the budget vote and board election of May 17, 2022. Dusty, before I start reading, I would like to confirm that I read this whole thing, correct? Yes. Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby ratifies and accepts the voting results of the annual budget vote and board election canvassed on May 17, 2022 as follows. Proposition 1, the budget. Shall the sum of $12,364,242 be appropriated to meet the estimated expenditures of the Garrison Union Free School District for school purposes for the fiscal year July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and the necessary tax be levied for same upon the taxable property of the school district after first deducting the monies available from state aid and other sources. Yes, 314. No, 314. Due to the required 60% supermajority from the voters, the budget proposition failed to pass. Proposition 2, authorization to enter into term of instruction contract. Shall the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District be authorized to contract for a period of not less than 2 and not more than 5 years with the Highland Falls Fort Montgomery Central School District for the purpose of educating Garrison students in grades 9 through 12 and to provide the necessary transportation for such students? Yes, 511. No, 112. Proposition passed by 82%. Candidates for election to Board of Education. Kent Schott, total votes 442. Sarah Tormey, total votes 446. Write-in totals votes 16. May I have a motion? No, right? May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Thank you. We now move on to public comment. There is a sign-in sheet available for anyone who missed it. Dusty, while I read my paragraph, if you wouldn't mind. Public comment is intended for members of the community to speak openly and voice concerns. In accordance with Policy 3220 of the Garrison Union Free School District, any person wishing to speak shall comply with all provisions of this policy. Comments about specific school personnel or individual students is a violation of board policy. Concerns regarding students or personnel should be discussed privately with the superintendent or appropriate administrator. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. The board will listen to comments but will not engage in dialogue. Any necessary follow-up will be noted and provided through the appropriate channel. Okay, I have a sign-in sheet here. First, I will invite up Mr. Ned Roush.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us and thank you for the work, I wanted to say. Thank you for the work that you guys have done. Thank you for the work that the teachers have done, the board, the administration, the teachers, the staff. What's that? And thanks for, a lot of people came out and helped in this process to get this budget passed, and they gave a lot of time, they gave a lot of their expertise, and we came close. We came up short, but people tried, and I appreciate that. I don't want the results of last night to seem as any sort of refutation on the work that the board, administration, staff, and faculty have done over the last 2 years leading this community through a pandemic and a construction project, which is like the minor part of these last 2 years, and which in any other context would be a really big deal. I don't know what more a community can ask of its school, and so I thank everybody here very much. And in this long hour of frustration and disappointment, we don't know what the board is going to decide to do with the budget. Should it decide to go back out and ask the community again to pass something, we, the PTA, are ready, and we're going to be with you. And we need more help. To that end, I have a sign-up sheet here. We need people here. We need friends of people here to get together and commit to helping us pass this thing next time around. And we're going to do it. It begins, well, a lot of us have been talking about it today. It began about 10 minutes after the vote was counted last night. And we're in it and ready to go now. So I'll pass this around. It's really important that we get it done. So thank you all very much. Thank you guys, and we will succeed eventually.
Thank you. Next up, Teresa Orlandi, please.
Okay, just trying to adjust. Testing, does that sound, everyone can hear? Great. Okay, so many of you know me. I am a parent of former Garrison students, and I'm also an educator. And I just really wanted to come out and express my profound disappointment with the results of last night's vote. Throughout this pandemic, kids need stability and consistency more than ever. And therefore, it is so important for us to preserve the personnel and the programs that we have here at the school for all of the students. Many of you are obviously following the news, and I think most people are aware that we have a mental health crisis in this country for our youth. In particular, teenagers are really suffering. The kids are not all right. They're just not all right. In the 2020-2021 school year, this district was open full-time, K through 8, in person. I have to tell you that was extremely rare. Very few districts were open for all of their students in person. And that, I think, is a real testament to the commitment of the teachers and the board to really know what was best for kids, right? We were doing what was best for kids. We had them in school, in person, as much as humanly possible. Let's see. So, in terms of everyone stepped up in a crisis. They did what was best for kids, for families, for working parents. I think you heard a lot, obviously, on news. We don't know whether our kids are going to be in school or not. And for the most part, Garrison was open for their students. And just the way the community repays the district for really prioritizing students and working parents and families is to challenge the budget, to attempt to defeat it. During an unprecedented amount of sacrifice, I would say, on behalf of the teachers and administrators in district. So I'm just saying that, this no vote or the defeat of the budget has real consequences. This impacts real people, real kids, okay? And we need to think about the fact that, we don't know how one individual child responds to, for example, a specific staff member. But it is so important, again, that the personnel and the programs are preserved. So I just wanted to, express my disappointment, but also thank you all for your hard work and your service throughout the pandemic. And I just hope that we can move forward from this with either a supermajority or a solution that really keeps this unique school and community. This is a real asset to the community in place. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Eric Arnold, please.
Hi, everyone. Ned said he would leave the bemoaning to me, and I know you guys always expect me to be subtle at the microphone, so here goes. So first off, just thank you to the teachers for just trying so hard on behalf of our kids and the community these past couple of years, and to the board on this issue, that forever and always, but also specifically on this for the past couple of months. And just as a member of this community, to the teachers, I know I spoke to some of you earlier, but I feel like this town really let you down last night, and I just don't really have the words to describe it. How I've felt since last night and this morning. But having said that, trying to be positive, and I really do think we need to try and take another bite at the apple here. I know that's scary, but because of the possibility of a contingency budget, but I think that we really do need to, as Ned said, really speak loud and clear with one voice about what's at stake. And I think some voters, for better or worse, were a little unclear about what was happening here. And one person I spoke with thought that they'd get a 9% tax hike each year, which is nuts. But that's what happens when sometimes we aren't as clear and succinct as we think we are being. And I think we also underestimated the number of parents, who have kids in this school or have kids in high school who just thought this doesn't affect them. They thought that, my kid's done in June, or my kid's at Haldane and is a sophomore. This doesn't affect me. And they couldn't have been more wrong about that. And I think if we try for another bite at the apple, I think we need to be really crystal clear about what will happen. And, we know that there's the significant possibility that teachers will lose their jobs, that kids' development will suffer, that high school choice will go away. I think we need to be really, really clear. If for some reason we take this second shot at it, and we're not successful again, I think we have to think about where recovering that $1 million shortfall in that first year might look like, and maybe start thinking about it. And I know some of these options are really uncomfortable to talk about, but we do have to think about maybe reassessing the relationship with Haldane. And if it would stink to have to pull kids out of a school that they know and that they love, but that would save $300,000 in 1 year and protect 3 teachers' jobs, potentially. Cutting a bus route, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to have kids walking along 9D, which is a dangerous road, doesn't have sidewalks. But, if we have to do that, that would get us another potential $100,000. If we have to cut sports, again, I don't want to do that. My kid loves sports, but, that's one of the consequences. And then, perhaps maybe what we have left in the reserve could get us through that next year before we have to go for another override. And all of this is really uncomfortable, but I think we have to be really clear about very specific consequences that will result if we aren't successful a second time around. And I guess to close it out, as if we get to the point where you guys have to prepare a contingency budget, I would just really encourage you to put everything on the table that you can, except for the teachers and the kids. Anything you can do to protect them and their experience here, and especially the teachers, please cherish that and value that above all else. They've worked too hard for too long, for this town to essentially slap them in their face with a vote. So, I think, again, a revote is scary, and I know a lot of us are emotional today. I certainly am, and I'm sort of reminded of that Michigan Congresswoman Mallory McMurrow, who's sort of my new hero, sort of paraphrasing here, but she said that bad things will happen and will continue to happen only if we let them. And so I hope that we can basically, band together, as Ned said, and really prevent those unfortunate things from happening in the future. So, thanks.
Thank you very much. Next I have Grady Oaks, and the sign-in sheet is still open. So if anyone else wishes to sign up, come on up.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you. Grady Oaks. I'm the not only the father of a first grader, but I think you will all be happy to know that Poppy May will be superintendent for the day tomorrow. So the reinforcements are coming. We won that at GSEP, so you're in good hands. Ballerina, superintendent, lots of things. All right, so, and she eyed earlier when y'all got going, so she's developing. I think for sure, thank you so much to the teachers. I know that one of the things, it is unfortunate that through the conversations that we have, there are big ticket items that seem very scary, like the busing, the high school, and you kind of run out of room real quick to make compromise or to find waste, if you will, which I think you all have done a great job of looking for that. And so it hits the teachers that have like the impact, with our students. And that is the most instructional time. That is, if they're covering multiple classes or pushing into pre-K classes or whatever that looks like to cover that, that impacts like the quality of the work at the school. And I think that needs to be noted and should be considered, and I'm grateful that you are taking the week on the preschool. I've talked to more people today, and I feel like I've heard more candor from members of my community than I have in the 4 years since I've been here. So like, in a lot of ways, I'm immensely grateful as a Garrisonian or whatever you would call it to have heard this stuff. And like, I do believe that there is room for compromise out there, but I do not think that there's, and people do not want a contingency vote. They understand the damage that will happen to the school, but there's been, I think like everybody's experienced professionally or in any organization through COVID, a lot of slippage in the message, no matter how hard people are banging the drum to communicate the message. I run sales teams or fully remote. I could not believe the number of times that I could repeat something that it would just get completely missed because people are feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and I think that our community has hit that. There, as an example, there's been lots of communication about why we've made certain moves from an administrative standpoint in terms of how we staff the school. I think that y'all talk about this here. There's more people sitting here tonight than there have been at any one of these meetings over the last 3 months. People don't understand the decisions that have been made. People think that that's a spot that candidly are there opportunities for savings that don't impact students as much. And I think that y'all have made good steps to find savings. There's a lack of communication there. I want to second what Eric was saying around Haldane. What I see here is that this town, this community, Garrison, is under the gun financially right now. And so when we think about where we're going to invest our funds and what communities we're going to invest our funds in, I think that number one should be Garrison. And I'm hearing that from a lot of people on the phones. I think there is a lot of support right now to, if it's possible, play some hardball with Haldane and to let them know that we choose to invest our funds in this district, not in other districts, and that we want to do that through savings, and to see what they say. And I think that that sucks if you're a high school junior, and I don't know how you sort that out, but when you think about where the investment can be for the future of this school, where we can keep teachers, it can teach, and keep it staffed, like that's something that I hear on the phone a lot, how we can keep money in the district. Bottom line is I think that there's absolutely an opportunity for compromise. I think that there are people who had a message to send, and there have been incomplete ways to send those messages over the last couple of years, and there's been some consistency, but I appreciate your leadership. I know that every single person up here has tried very hard to address the continual things that we hear, but I would be looking at how we can talk about whether or not our administrative costs are in line with what the district expects if we're good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. I would be looking at what we can do with Haldane. I would be tapping the brakes or getting real clear on like what the costs would be if we were doing pre-K. And a last thing is that I think that there are a lot of people that would support elements of the school in ways that are not too expensive. And so if it comes down to it, if there are things like artists in residence that like could be compromised, could be financed by the community, that wouldn't impact the budget in as steep a way, we need to see a list and know what those things are so that we can make those asks. And candidly, with the way salt taxes are now, there's an appetite to do that, and we should pursue that. So that's it. That's what I got. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Next, I have Lauren Benares.
Thank you so incredibly much for everything that you've done. I've already told people I'm pretty ragey today, so I'm not sure that I can be very eloquent, but what you all have done and what you continue to do, and now what you're going to have to be forced to do, is really more than any board should ever have to do. And I just wanted to thank you all and say, echo what was said before. I'm very sorry. I feel angry. I feel let down by my own community, and I feel like I am part of a community that has also let down you. So thank you. And I also really want to thank the PTA, because you all have risen to the occasion and gone way beyond, and I'm very, very grateful that you've done that. And I personally am very committed to helping in whatever capacity is needed, and I definitely really, really hope that every parent in this school will also get on board with that, because it's not going to probably be fun work at all. This isn't although yesterday's ice cream social was amazing, this is not going to be an ice cream social, and it absolutely has to be done. So I commit to helping with that, and I encourage other people to do the same. So a couple of things that I would, I mentioned this before sort of briefly in a different meeting. I think that and this is what Eric, I think, was also, this echoes what he was saying, that the specificity in language with how every single part of this is communicated with the public is so important. And when I say specific, I don't mean technical. I feel like we should be getting away totally from using the language of percentage in our communications to people, and that it should very, very clearly say, this is the current tax rate, no percentage involved. This is what the rate would be afterwards. Because when you start talking percentages and tax rates, it's phew, for the majority of people. So when you're talking, when the language is something is a 10% increase, I know for sure, because I've talked with people, it's you can't, it's almost like at least brains like mine don't compute that way very fast. 10% sounds enormous, but then when you look at what the rate is, or 9.2, whatever, they sound like huge numbers. And then when you see what the rate is and you see what the rate will be, it's like a big, big, big difference for a lot of people. So I would really, I'm gonna try to do that in my own language with people, but I feel like in communicating outwardly, that could be very helpful, because I do think that number is theoretical for a lot of people, and 10% just sounds so big that if you're looking at the actual decimal points about what is going to change, and then if you break that down with whatever, I know you've given a million examples, and I feel like it's just like there's a refusal of people to listen. But when you break that down month by month based on whatever your house is appraised at, that means this number of dollars if your house is appraised at this number of dollars if it's not. And then when you're looking at, okay, this is gonna increase my bill by $45 a month, it's not the same as feeling like my tax bill is gonna go up 10%. Those are very different things, and I do think that it's important, and I don't mean to be nitpicky about it, but for people like me, the language of that just like shifts big time. So I would suggest that. I would also suggest that we really very actively bring upcoming pre-K if it happens, but upcoming kindergarten parents into this conversation, because it's a totally different, like they don't know what they're missing. Do you know what I mean? And they're not as motivated to vote, because why would they if they're not in this reality yet? And I think that there's a lot of support there, because this is going to be affecting their kids probably the most, because they're going to be here the longest, that they need to be really brought into stuff. And I hope that this is just maybe me being cynical, but at this point, I feel like expending energies converting no votes is a total waste of time. That if you're, I feel like I've had conversation after conversations where people make up numbers, where people say something, where they say there's something that they think they understand, and then they communicate it to the person next to them as if it's total understanding, and then it's like this weird game of telephone, and it gets out of control. I would focus only on the yes votes, because I think there's a ton of yes votes out there that did not show up at the polls. I don't really know what that means. I know that's theoretical, and maybe it's not true, but in my own personal interactions with people, I'm finding that people know what the deal is. If they're gonna say no to it, I don't really see how you're gonna bring that person around, so like go full force on the yes. Thanks. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Next, I have Casey Salmachia, and the sign-in sheet is still open for anyone. The board is here to listen tonight, please.
Good evening. Ditto everything that has been said thus far, and thank you so much for everyone who came out tonight, especially the students. Thank you for being here. We need your support on this go-around. Not gonna lie, licked my wounds for about an hour, and will say that I am ready to go and am here to work for what we need to do. I will share a different take on what happened and say that as a parent, as a teacher, our kids are watching us, and how we handle this will teach them mountains. I have spoken to so many people today who said, I wanted to teach this town a lesson. I wanted to show them what I thought. I have also talked to a lot of friends who said, I'm moving out of Garrison. I'll move to Cold Spring, or I'll send my kid to Manitou. And I would lie to you if that thought didn't go through my own head. Both of those outcomes will not be helpful for our community. I believe truly what we need to do is to listen to one another, to hear one another's perspectives, and to find a mutually agreeable solution to the unprecedented challenge in front of us. And how we treat each other, and how we talk to each other, and how we choose to engage with each other will be far more important than the end of any vote. So I ask everyone here, please go recruit 20 of your best friends. Be willing to have an uncomfortable conversation with a neighbor and push them on their thinking, and do what we can to get the money for our school who has done amazing work keeping our kids safe and educated in unprecedented times. We cannot slap them in the face. Let's be the example that we want our kids to be. When we created the vision of the graduate, we talked about this. It was created in a time of political strife, and we talked about how adults were acting, and we said, how would we want our kids to act? We'd want them to find truth. We'd want them to beat misconception. We would want them to understand one another. They will only do that if we can show them how. Please join me. Please sign the sign-up sheet. Please do calls with us. Please recruit someone. Please be willing to get uncomfortable. We got 314 votes at a time when money is tight. We have 314 people, as many who didn't want to say, yeah, raise my taxes. We are so close. This is as many people in this room. That's all it takes, and we can get it.
Thank you. Lisa Rassick.
That got me riled up. Thank you, Casey. Thank you again. I don't think you can say thank you enough or too many times to our teachers, to the administration, to the volunteers on our board here, to all of the volunteers in our community. Whether it's, you're heading up PTA, GSEF, or you show up and you're driving our kids home. I will say that my kids are in middle school. I actually have one who's graduating from middle school, and I have a sixth grader. So I could be one of the voters who say, you know what, this doesn't matter to me anymore, but it matters because I think education matters. I believe in education and quality education for all kids, not just mine. One thing that I think that the school has done better and better every year since we've been here, and I think my kids have gotten a great education, is they've helped them not only to learn the reading and the writing and the arithmetic, which I do believe some parents and some community members think that that's really all a school needs to do. It's not, because the very big problems in our world, in our community, in our society, are not going to be only solved with knowing how to read, knowing how to write, and knowing how to do your math. They're going to be solved with creative minds and with people who know how to communicate. When I get fearful about what's at risk here, is that we will be at risk of losing some of the creative programs. Music. I mean, my son is learning saxophone at school. He's now playing in a jazz ensemble at school. That's not, not something that a parent, maybe I could have the resources to hire someone outside and pay for that, but maybe other people don't. But he gets that and his peers get that. They have a phenomenal art program that's been here year after year. They're being taught, and it keeps getting better because they're integrating. I guess I'm probably preaching to the choir right now, but in the messaging, and I don't know where this will go, it is so important to have these programs because the problems in our world require minds that are flexible, that are creative. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Karen Nelson?
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, so first of all, I just want to thank the board members, the teachers and the PTA for all of their work in dedicating themselves to educating our children. I know this is a really challenging situation that we're faced with. I've For those of you who don't know me, I have 3 kids who've gone through the district. I have a current 8th grader right now who's about to graduate. All of my kids have had a fabulous experience here in this district. My older children, one who's in college and one who's in high school, look back fondly on their years here and all that they've learned in their time. And they have fond memories of this place, their teachers, the sports teams they played on, the band that they played in, the chorus, and the friends that they've made. The school's their home, essentially, when, for the year that they're here. And they continue to be educated even as they go on to high school. And, I know for parents of young kids, this is a K-8 building, but for parents of high school students, this is a K-12 district. And I just cannot express enough that disrupting the educational process to our high school students is disastrous. And especially for our students who are currently enrolled in 9 through 12. I have an 11th grader who is at Haldane, and I see a handful of parents out here who are Haldane parents, and current 8th grade parents who have intentions of their student attending Haldane next year. And I just want to express to everyone in this room that Haldane is as much as their home as this is your kindergartner's home. So please keep that in mind as you go through this process. I know there are a number of really challenging decisions to make. I didn't want to forget to say that, but I do also want to say that there are a number of people out here who really are enthusiastic about trying to put out an additional vote in June, and I think our focus should really be on trying to pass our next attempt at a vote. I'm really nervous. I hate speaking in public, so this is a really big deal for me to do this, so thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else who would like to speak this evening? We are here to listen. The sign-in sheet is still open. If anyone wishes to say anything. Sure, come on up.
Yeah, I just want to echo, Karen's concerns. I mean, I said before that we have a mental health crisis for teenagers in this country. Teenage suicide has gone up by 51%, which is alarming. So one of my children does have a major mental health condition, and if my child were pulled from Haldane, it could literally ruin her life. So I really urge you to think about the consequences of pulling students away from their school, their peers, their community, and not giving that choice. And my understanding is that the majority of Garrison students choose Haldane over O'Neill. I think we have some pretty solid numbers on that, so I think that the Haldane option really does need to be preserved. So I just think that it is so important for us to remember, kids first. This is about what's best for kids, and that is just how I feel. So thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any? Come on up. Just come sign in for me, please, if you don't mind. Yep, please sign in. Thank you. Of course. Welcome, Mike Roush. Thank you. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty good at that.
Thanks. Sorry for the last minute comment here. Is this working? I'm not that prepared for this, but I think what I'm hearing and what I wanted to say was I'm the parent of 3 kids now, 1 coming into kindergarten next year, and I sort of sat this one out. I voted, and I voted in favor, but I didn't do as much as, say, my brother did. I mean, that guy wore the cougar costume to the train station last night and talked to 5 trains full of people. Why he has the cougar costume is a whole different thing, but like he does, and he pulled it out and he went for it. And so I think that there are a lot of people kind of in my position of thinking like, I can't take on another thing, and I have all these young kids, and there are all these parents older than me who are sort of gonna deal with this. And we fell short, right? It's no one's fault. It's just, there's more voters that I think could come as a yes vote and sort of push this thing over the line. I also do believe that there's some brinksmanship and some gamesmanship of some voters out there thinking that there is bloat somewhere in this system, and I don't believe that. But I think that some people think that, and I think they're trying to call a bluff here. And I think you should put this back out to vote, and I think we should win it. Thanks.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Yeah, you can come back up. Sure. You have to go to the microphone, though, so we can hear you and get it recorded.
Regarding
The
to,
board can't respond to questions, so.
oh, okay, but I'll ask it anyway. You don't have to respond. Regarding to what Lauren had asked about the confusion with some people's understanding about the percentage and what that all meant in terms of actual dollars, it's my understanding that some districts have something called a tax calculator where you can actually like plug into a formula like the value of your home, and it will give you an exact breakdown of the number, the dollar number that your taxes will go up. And I think it might be a more a number that's understanding to people as opposed to saying 10%. And I don't know if there's any way to provide that information to the public. So you don't have to answer, though.
Thank you. Just write down. I need another sheet.
Come up here and keep Karen company.
Welcome, Mr. Masick.
Oh, hello.
Nice.
John Masick. I have 2 sons who went through the Garrison school. They loved their experience here. They went to Haldane for elementary school. We were lucky enough to move to Garrison and have school choice here. And I think it's important for Haldane and O'Neill to remain part of the picture. Both my sons did choose O'Neill after going to Haldane, but that was their choice. They wanted something different. And that was a jewel of this community. And I would hate for any kids to be pulled out of any situation that they're in. That's something we want to obviously try to avoid. I think the board's done an excellent job managing through all this crisis that we've had, and I want to compliment all of you. One thing that we can also focus on is getting those college kids who are back. I made sure my son got here to vote. That would have been, if we got all those college kids to vote, this would have passed. If we knocked on doors of people who have college kids back in the district who went through this program and loved their experience here, we would have gotten those 30 votes that we needed. It's sad to see this come about, but I think there's an easy way to resolve this, and is to have that vote and all of us put our heads together and get more votes out and really get this across the finish line next month. So thank you again for all that you've done, and we look forward to the revote.
Thank you. Mary Ann Sullivan?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Ann Sullivan, and I have 2 children in the Garrison district, and my husband has served with you on the school board. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your hard work. I am really disappointed in the vote, like everyone else here, or many other of us here tonight. I'm concerned about maintaining the educational quality here at the K-8 school. I'm also concerned about preserving school choice, as others have said. My son Aiden is a junior at Haldane, and it would be obviously Really bad to have to pull him out for his senior year. That would very much affect his college chances if he had to go to another school and have a guidance counselor who doesn't even know him, teachers who don't know him, write essay or his college letters. All of the other parents would be in a similar situation, the parents of students who are in 10th grade, 11th grade right now at Haldane. So I'm very worried about that, and I also think that, when we have families, it's nice that if those kids can be in the same school. So if I have an 8th grader right now who intends to go to Haldane next year, and if we had to send him across the river and have Aiden at Haldane, that presents a lot of logistical challenges for families. So I know you have difficult decisions. I'm committed to working on getting out the vote. I will definitely commit to working with any Garrison parents who are at Haldane to try to convince them and their neighbors that they need to come out and vote when I hope this goes back out to the voters, because I don't think we can really accept this particular outcome. So anyway, you can count on me to try to organize Haldane parents and to work with other people here to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Yep. I'm going to write you in. I know how to spell your name.
Hi, guys. I just want to express just how grateful I am to the board and to Carl and to Joe for the incredible work that has been done to try to get this vote to pass. I want to also thank the community that did come out to vote yes. And most importantly, I want to thank my incredible teachers that are sitting in the audience and that are home tonight. So I came here about 18 months ago during the beginning and middle, I don't even know what, the pandemic, a crazy time in Garrison, and I don't regret that decision. I am committed to this community. I just need everybody to know how much I love this place and your children. I am gonna fight really hard to get this budget passed. I'm committed, I'm determined, and I just want you to know that I am in it for the long haul, and I just appreciate just being here and being a part of this. So adversity will, we will overcome adversity together, and I'm just grateful. So thank you so much, and thank you so much to the board for everything that you guys do. I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Hi, Poppy. Okay. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and close this session of public comment. That brings me up next to President's remarks. I'm going to be very brief. If you're all looking to get up and walk away, though, you can now. Sometimes that happens. So I just want to thank everyone who came out to vote yesterday. Yes or no, we appreciate your engagement with our community. And I also want to thank our poll workers who put in a very long day. Dusty, you and your crew did an amazing job. They were here well before 7 a.m. to open the polls, and they were here until I think we closed it out around 11 o'clock last night. So thank you for putting in a long day. I will repeat again, the board will meet again next Wednesday. We will have a public session added on to that. That's all I have for this evening. I will say, though, that the board has a lot of decisions to make. Those are going to take some time. They're not going to be made this evening in this public session, in case that's something anyone here is waiting for. So, okay. I'm going to turn it over to Carl for superintendent's remarks.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll also be fairly brief. First, I just want to thank everyone who's here this evening. We deeply appreciate the feedback, but people have been providing feedback for well over 2 months, and it's been incredibly helpful. to hear your perspective and what are your expectations for a quality school district in Garrison. And that is why we arrived at the proposal that we presented to the public. So, of course, there is disappointment, but we were also very inspired by the engagement and the support. And I will say, I think I can speak on behalf of the admin team and the faculty, we do feel valued and supported day in and day out by this community. Of course, we would have preferred a different outcome to preserve quality education, but just know that we do appreciate the feedback and that wonderful support that exists here in Garrison. And just for clarity, this next phase of the process, the board has made no decision at this time to go out there with a revote, but legally, the date for the revote would be June 21st. That is very close, and there will not be time for an extensive community discussion as we did for the past maybe 8 or 10 weeks. But we do have a tremendous amount of feedback that we've received, and this also helps this evening. But we will need to have a budget finalized probably within a week to 10 days. So we have to act swiftly. I know the board is committed to, we already added one meeting next week, as Sarah said, but we will probably be meeting in between. I know the Finance Committee has plans to get together, so we will be working very hard to try to figure out what that next step is. But we will certainly have a proposal, if we decide to go forward, by early to mid-June. So I just ask you to stay engaged. The last thing I will say is this: Joe and I have received dozens of phone calls. We've granted meetings, and we found them to be very productive. So I know some of our parents talked about communication. This is a complex process. And if you started to tune into the budget process days before the budget or when you receive the budget newsletter, it can be overwhelming or confusing, and misinformation does tend to spread. It was a big ask, and I'm sure some people were surprised by a 9% proposal. But I encourage you, or if you have neighbors that are confused, send them to us. We are not bothered by that. We welcome it. Every conversation, every meeting Joe and I had with community members and parents, I felt was productive. They may have still decided to not support a 9% override. However, at least we felt that they had accurate and clear information. So that offer is open, ongoing, at any time. So please don't hesitate to send community members our way and encourage them to come in and speak to us to get accurate information. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. And I have one follow-up question for you. The public hearing, should the board move forward, would need to be scheduled by, let's see, when is the public hearing? It needs to be 10 to 14 days, is that right?
Yes. So the public hearing needs to be 14 days prior to the 21st, so that would place us at June 14th, Sarah. We have a meeting scheduled June 15th, so maybe we can talk about potentially moving that meeting from the 15th to the 14th.
So
Okay.
The public hearing, just so you all know, the public hearings are a great way for people to come in because there is a back and forth between the board and anyone who has questions at a public hearing. Unlike public comment at a board meeting, we can answer some questions. So should the board decide to move forward and should there be a public hearing, please encourage people with questions to come out.
Is the public hearing not mandated for a revote? Because it's mandated for the
It is a requirement,
Yes.
and I want to just correct myself. It has to be between 7 and 14 days before the vote. So the latest possible public hearing can be on June 14th. We cannot schedule it after that date.
Do we have any other questions for Carl on his remarks before we move on? Okay. Next up, we have accepting the minutes. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accept the minutes of the May 4th, 2022 regular meeting. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays? Abstentions? Thank you. Next, we will move on to our financial reports. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accepts the treasurer reports for March 2022 and April 2022, and also accepts the claims audit reports for March 2022 and April 2022 as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have any questions for Joe? Or Joe, do you want to speak to the reports as presented?
So there's just a number of our normal course of actions for both our banking as well as the claims. I don't have anything of note in them.
Thank you, Joe. Do I have any questions for Joe regarding these reports as presented? I'm going to move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays? Abstentions? We'll now move on to the consent agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Carl L. Albano, Superintendent, hereby approves the personnel consent agenda for items 9B through K as presented. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Carl, would you like to speak to these items?
Sure. On the personnel agenda, we have just a few brief resolutions. The first one is a retirement for Mrs. Catherine Mariani, who has served for nearly 20 years in the Garrison School District in our main office. Anyone that's interacted with Catherine knows she is warm and welcoming and will always help anyone, student, parent, teacher, administrator. So we appreciate her many years of service, and we wish her well in retirement. And we will have a scheduled meeting later in June to recognize our retirees with some further comments. Also on personnel agenda is staffing for our Summer Scholars Program. I would like to just emphasize that the summer program is funded by our American Rescue Plan grant. This is not any cost to the district, and it is a requirement. So part of the American Rescue Plan money is to help prevent pandemic learning loss that we heard some of our parents speak about, the impact of the pandemic. So this is an exciting program. It's a 4-week program. It will be housed in the middle school, and we have a number of staff members as well as our principal, Mrs. Amig, who have all agreed to serve, and also Ms. Clark as an aide. And we have over 50 students, which is wonderful. So we're very excited to launch this program for the first time, and all these resolutions approve the staffing that is needed.
Thank you, Carl. Do I have any questions regarding the consent agenda? Okay, I'm going to reread the recommended action just for correction for the record. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Carl L. Albano, Superintendent, hereby approves the personnel consent agenda items 9B through E as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays? Abstentions? Thank you. We will now move on to new business. Okay. Want to see, under here, we have number 11, I believe, needs to be removed. Is that correct? As we are waiting on pre-K for the next meeting? That is, yes. So because of the earlier discussion that we are waiting on pre-kindergarten until the next meeting, I'm going to remove item C. Okay. Should I take them one at a time, Dusty, or do you want to?
You can just say to approve items B, and then
B, and D.
Well, A is your
B and D.
resolution. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Carl L. Albano, Superintendent, hereby approves the new business items B and D. Oh, sorry. B, G, E, and F.
And G.
G and H.
You have all those change orders.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, B, D, E, F, G, and H. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. All right, we're going to pause here. I'm going to ask for questions and discuss some change orders, I believe. First, actually, let's go to item D. We have an approval for transfer of funds from tax certiorari reserves to the general fund. Do you want to speak to that, Joe?
Yes, I do. So it is typical that when we have tax certiorari requests and settlements, that they're in the hundreds of dollars range. This particular one is a outsized settlement due to the transfer of a distressed property at an all-cash kind of transaction. So I did contact the assessor about it, and that was the best that they could do. But because it was so large, we needed to use the tax cert reserve to pay for it.
Do I have any questions regarding this transfer? Will this, I know we're planning to move some of the tax certiorari money into what was the proposed budget. Will this have any impact? Because I know we average out our tax certs year over year in order to figure out how much we're supposed to keep in it, so.
We probably will need to consider whether or not we want to fund it in the future, but there isn't enough in the budget to cover this item.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on then to the change orders. Do I have any questions? Oh, Matt, did you have a question on tax certs? Do you have a question on change orders? Okay. We're going to go, any questions on the change orders? Or Joe, do you want to speak to them?
Speak to them. So there's a number of change orders here that have been building up that need to be approved, and they are a combination of in the field conditions that need to be taken care of. You have with Meyer, you have a number of change orders that are related to abatement. You have change orders that are related to the conditions of the cafeteria. There's some additional drywall that they're going to do in the cafeteria to make the walls on the side that's facing the parking lot, as well as the side that is facing that direction, to make them in a better condition. And there are a number of changes with discovered conditions and the location of roof drains and mechanical equipment on the roof. So if there's any questions on any particular one, we can go into any one of them, but we have change orders for the electrical, for the mechanical contractor, the plumber, and the general contractor.
Can we hold on this until we've had the facilities committee meeting and then vote on these to make sure everyone's had time, especially people who know a lot about it, to go through it in more detail?
You could. What I would say is I spent a great deal of time with the architect and the construction manager to review all these. I am confident that they are ready to be approved, but you could potentially table them to next week if you wanted to.
So this is the 90,000 plus change orders, 12 change orders. How much of this work is already work in place versus work that needs to be approved before the contractor proceeds with it? And are there any change orders that will hold up construction? Because we do not want to hold up construction for sure.
There are a number of change orders that are related to construction that would occur within within the next week, including the change order for the drywall for the cafeteria. That we believe that we're going to be turning over the art space, and the next area that we're going to work on is the cafeteria. There is a change order that is also related to doors and the substitution of manufacture of doors in order to get the doors on time to complete the project on time. So there's a number of time-sensitive change orders that are in the batch.
Can we isolate those then, if those need to be approved today, or if we're meeting next week, we can also just review them and hold off on this package for next week?
It looks like Meyer 0228 would be the drywall you're talking about for the cafeteria.
So there's also a number of change orders that were work that had to be negotiated, and were back and forth until we had concessions from the general contractor on the pricing and the terms. That would be number 28 was one of those. Let's see. Number 29 is for work that would occur next week.
Number 29 is for next week?
Yep.
Take a quick look at that.
Number 30 has occurred already, that needed to be done in order to reopen the school after the asbestos abatement. Number 31 is complete and was needed in order to open the art space. Number 32 is to supply doors for the project. To get them on time, we had to change manufacturers.
Well, those doors will be then swapped out when the doors come in that were originally ordered?
Yeah, so they're
These are replacement doors because they're so far back ordered?
So the doors that were specified and included as a part of the original project, the manufacturer kept pushing dates back, as well as increasing the price to the contractor. Now, the contractor would have had to absorb that price, but the time at when they were committed to being able to deliver doors had pushed all the way out to October. By the substitution of this different manufacturer, which was approved by the district as far as a finish is concerned, and in terms of the architect and the construction manager as price and the delivery of July, that's what's in there as a recommendation. That's number 32.
Okay. And then that brings you to Meyer 33. So most of the Meyer ones then have already been, the work has been done already for that portion of it.
Yes, number 33 is due to the location of a mechanical unit on the roof. There is some work that has to be done to relocate one roof drain and replace it with two roof drains, and put the crickets and the flashing in a new location. So there's basically two parts to that change order. One is for Meyer to provide the roofing, and there's another one for Total to do the plumbing that we would get into when we get to that. That hasn't been completed yet, but it's something that needs to be done.
Trying to see if we could break it out by like looking at each grouping together. So if the Meyer one is done, maybe we could.
So Yeah, the ones that are done, we can wait a week. The work that we need to release, especially anything that needs to be ordered, the doors, that will take a long time. Let's isolate that, and then the work that needs to happen next week with the cafeteria. So right now, with the cafeteria, I have number 28 and number 29. Is that correct?
So it would be 20, 28, 29, and
Then the one for the door.
and 32, yes.
Do you want to take a look at the Hudson ones? Dusty, help me with this motion that we're going to reword.
All right, so Hudson is a number of items that so the first item is to provide outlets for additional server equipment that is required for Edutech's work. That was not included in the original contract, so there's $2,500 for that. The second item is this is a kind of a repeat item that occurs for the unit ventilators. There was a requirement for transformers that were not included in any of the contracts, and this was picked up by the electrical contractor. So this is every time that we install a unit ventilator, there's this need for a change order, and this is, I think, like the third one. So there's $2,300 for that. That is already completed. And there is some additional improvement of some wire mold, as well as some outlets that was done on a ticket basis that is already completed, that is $2,200.
Just to clarify then, are you asking to hold on all of the ones in item F, and is that possible? So that is the Hudson 7, 8, 9? Is that work to be done that needs approval this evening? Or
That's work that's completed.
That's work that's completed. Okay, so we can hold on F. I'm going to take these one by one. We're going to go through them and approve each one, just because it's going to be the simplest.
So it's only 3 that we're moving forward with. I was trying to save you from the whole list. There's 12 of them. It sounds like we're moving with the 29, 28, and 32.
So we're holding on item F and item G and item H. Is that correct?
Joe, double check to see if there's anything you need ordered.
G and H represent some work that is going to be completed soon, so I would recommend approving those.
Okay. So then let's take a look at item, so G is the Bertuzzi. Can you take a look at that and let me know if we have questions?
So there is existing ductwork that was in place in several locations that wasn't supported properly and needed to be supported. It was discovered after the ceilings were taken down that there wasn't sufficient supports for that, and there's $5,500 for that. Some of that work is ongoing right now. And then for total, it is the drains for the art space and the roof drains.
So that we're not holding up the work if it's started already, right?
Well, the drains has been done, but the roof drain, the drains for the art room has been done, but the roof drains have not.
Okay, so let's include this one also.
Are we comfortable then moving forward with? So I have right now holding on H, which is the Hudson ones, but going forward with the others, is that accurate? And holding on Meyer.
And 20 and 30.
And 31. Yep.
So what I have here is, going back, We're proceeding with G, so that's Bertuzzi change order 6.
Yes.
We're proceeding with Meyer change order 28 and 29 on item E.
And 32.
And then 32. Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 change orders. And then we're holding the others to review next week. We should be able to review it and approve it by then.
Okay. Do I have consensus on that from everyone? Okay. All right. We're good with that. I'm going to go through these then one by one, and we're going to start back at B now. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District approve the Committee on Special Education CSE and Committee on Preschool Special Education CPSE recommendations for students' placements as listed. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, abstentions. Okay, we don't have C. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the transfer of $12,000 from the Tax Certiorari Reserve Fund to the General Fund for outstanding tax settlements for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Nays, abstentions. Request for approval of change orders Meyer 28, Meyer 29, Meyer 30, Meyer 32. Not 30. Okay. Request for approval of change orders Meyer 28, Meyer 29, Meyer 32. We're all happy? Okay. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Nays, abstentions. Okay. What? The Bertuzzi, yeah, I'm getting to that one. Whereas the school district entered into a contract with Bertuzzi Contracting dated June 3rd, 2021, for the performance of general mechanical construction work in connection with the school district's reconstruction project. And whereas the school district desires and/or requires the addition of services and/or materials to be performed by contractor in connection with the project. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District approves change order number Bertuzzi 6, which is attached to this resolution, authorizes the President of the Board of Education or the Superintendent of Schools to execute such change order on behalf of the school district and ratifies any action already taken by either of them in that regard, and further authorizes and ratifies all actions taken by the board president, superintendent of schools, or either of their designees to effectuate the requirements of the change order. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays, abstentions. Okay, I think that concludes our new business. I'm going to move on to the right, Joe, we're good? All right. We're going to move on to the second public comment section of this evening. If anyone wishes to speak, come sign in. Okay, I'm going to close public comment at this time. I'm going to move under board member comment. I'm going to begin with Jocelyn.
Okay, I'll be really brief to just say that I'm disappointed with yesterday's result. I'm happy to see turnout and that the community was engaged. I thank the people who came out tonight to express support, but there was a glaring missing side of things here who came out wildly last night or all day yesterday, right? So I think that it speaks to our not failure, but struggle with communicating with all parts of the Garrison community. And when we were doing the strategic plan, Ned and I were on the supporting systems team. So we were charged with looking at policy, supporting some other kind of supporting system, like I think resources and community engagement. And we flagged it, David and Kent, you'll remember, and Carl, you were there. And we flagged it as like, there's something missing with the way that somehow we engage with the broader community, also with parents and the families, but like really broadly. And I think that really proved true yesterday, that we are not getting our message across the way we wanted to. So I just think that I liked some of the comments that said maybe shift up your messaging a little and make it a little bit either easier or more palatable, or however we can do it, to really try to bring people in who were non-votes yesterday, especially those folks, because we somehow didn't reach them. So I thank everyone for all their hard work, especially the PTA and the teachers, the public, the admin, and all of you board members who worked on it. I'm sorry that we have to go through potentially something else, but thank you for your time. So that's it.
Thank you, Jocelyn. David?
By the turnout tonight and by what people had to say.
Thank you. Madeline?
I just want to thank our teachers and our students and our kids. Even my kids came home today telling us that we should go back and put it up for vote again. So they're really aware of what's going on. I do want to thank also administration, parents, the PTA, everyone that came out to support the vote. And I guess we're ready for the next step. And we, from my point of view, the most important thing to keep is right now, it's the teachers and take care of our children. So those are the top priority right now to ensure a really good education.
Thank you, Madeline. Courtney?
Simply, yes, I want to echo what everybody's already said. I've been on the board for 5 years now. I've seen a lot of changes in the school. I've gotten to be a part of a number of them. I've learned a lot through each experience, each crisis and pandemic. We have a really strong, committed, honorable team in this school. Our administrators, our teachers. I love working with this board. I'm really proud of our budget process. I think there's obviously more to learn, and I think communication is a huge piece of it. But I'm really proud of what we did. We went through every single number. Everybody touched it. Everybody made sure there was nothing extra in there, that everything we were asking for was justified, all for the sake of educating the students in this district. I don't want to make any cuts. I really love the school the way it is. That's why we put forth the budget that we did. I know we have really difficult decisions to make. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in our community for those who didn't value the school and didn't come out to ask questions. I think there was a lot of misinformation. People pick up one-liners in the grocery store. Joe and Carl are amazing at answering every question, from big to small. So I will just encourage anybody who is still feeling unsure, who has a neighbor who is feeling unsure. Obviously, we don't know what we're doing yet, but if you've got questions about the school, come in and ask. Come to a board meeting, but if you can't, pick up the phone, call, send an email. Please, you will get the answers you're looking for. You will not be dismissed. That's what we're here for. That's it.
Thank you. Kent?
I don't have a ton to add. I mean, I think obviously it's a very disappointing outcome. But that said, I'd put it back up again. I'd do what we did again, because we did it for a reason. We're faced with a situation where we cut everything we could. We put the number up, the lowest number we could up, and I know that, that doesn't necessarily mean everybody thinks they know that there's bloat or there are things there, but it wasn't there. We did it for a reason. And we know that number was horribly high. It was very difficult, but it was the number to keep the school the way it's going now, which we all want to do. So, the no vote, it doesn't change the financial status of this district. We need help, and it's not going to go away, this problem that we have. So I don't know if we're going to put it back up. I don't know if we're going to put up the same rate. But I do ask those that are opposed, especially the parents which honestly, if every parent would have supported this, it would have passed. I ask that they get all the information and really know what they're voting for if we put this back up. I mean, maybe I'm too close, maybe I know too much about what's going on in the school, but it's outrageous when I hear things like, let's cut administrators. That's not realistic. There are state laws that require them to do the things we do. We can't run this district any tighter than we're running it. So I just ask that people do their homework. If you're going to vote no, make sure you're voting no and know all the facts. Don't listen to somebody at the supermarket or the garden club. Know the facts. If it doesn't pass again, it's going to be really awful. I mean, truly awful. Contingency budget, we went through it today, is awful. So I just beg, especially parents, don't cut off your nose to spite your face because you're angry at the district or you don't like something that happens in the district. Think about your kids, think about all the kids, all the parents, all the teachers, because this thing is really important. We are not messing around. It is going to be brutal if we have to go to a contingency budget. I don't take it lightly. I don't think anybody here takes it lightly, and I hope our parents won't take this lightly when it comes up, if it comes up again. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Matt?
I agree with everything that's been said. I want to try to avoid repeating too much. I want to thank everybody who's already been thanked. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank everyone for participating last night. The only thing I would add that hasn't, so that's a quick sort of version of everything everyone just said very eloquently and everything the public said tonight. I just want to add, I hope we as a community, I think echoing what Casey said, can avoid a hardening right now. And as we're communicating about this, assume, I don't want to sound preachy to myself or to anybody else, but if we can all try to do our best to assume good intent, I think that could help our community too. I think we're in danger right now of a coarsening that I don't think will help us. So I hope, however people voted yesterday, they recognize that people who voted the other way are just, for the most part, trying to do their best by the community and what they think is best for all of us. So try to maintain that spirit as we keep talking to each other.
Thank you. I'll just add that, I agree with what Jocelyn said, that while we heard a lot of very affirming, positive remarks tonight, this is not representative of the people who came out to vote, and those no votes are out there, and I do not think, I hear what you're saying, Kent, I don't think we can get the 9%. I think we have cuts coming, and it is going to be very hard on this community and this school. And I think property values are going to suffer as well. And I think that's the thing I came away with is we are stewards of this district, but we are stewards of the taxpayers. And I personally feel like we put this budget up because it also supports our property values, and cutting away high school choice, cutting away from the program we offer and making it less competitive to our neighbors hurts property values. I think that damage has been done by that vote yesterday, and I am very sad to see that in this community. I don't know where we go from here, but I just want to be really mindful of that the people who come to these meetings are not representative of this full community, and we should really take that to heart because we don't want to end up in contingency. Contingency wipes out everything that is non-essential. We will maintain only what we are legally required to do to have students physically safe in this building. That is nothing else. I don't think we emphasize that enough, that is your children being in study halls. There are no specials, there is no music, there is no art. That is not part of the school anymore. There is no busing. I mean, there's so much we're gonna cut, and just to get it down, we're gonna have to make really painful cuts. So I think that's where we're at, and I think we need to prepare our community and be mindful that when we have people coming in here and speaking, that's not everyone. So I do also want to end that I really do appreciate our teachers and all the time and energy you have put in to coming to these meetings, to listening and to educating our kids. That's it. All right, we're going to go into executive session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby enters into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of particular persons and discussing collective negotiations with the GTA and SRP bargaining units pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
We will adjourn executive session without taking any further action this evening. Thank you.